Sabhaya Namaha. Our Indian culture and tradition is one of the ancient one in the world's history. Generally, it was found by the archaeologist groups in Indus Valley civilization, especially at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro regions. In this way, our Indian culture and civilization got its own name and fame in the worldwide. Similarly, we have another ancient culture in the world after the Indian culture and tradition, that is called Greek. Greek origin is also an ancient one because maximum they followed our Indian traditions as usually. How can we know about Greek culture? Who are the famous people from Greek to enlighten their civilization culture into the world? First of all, we can say Homeric period. Who wrote Iliad and Odyssey? Generally, this is one of the achievement from Greek people. Homer, though he was a blind, he narrated by true telling and fixed on the scriptural, that is called Iliad and the Iliad and Odyssey. These two are epic poems like Ramayana and Mahabharata in our Indian tradition. Homer took the theme from Trojan War. It is the most important topic in Greek literature. Some people used to say Trojan War is fabulous story, imaginary story. It is not real and fact. But some archaeologist people used to say it was happened. So many philosophers were produced from the land of Greek. Among them, the first place can be given to Socrates. Socrates is one of the most ancient philosopher in the world. He developed the Greek philosophy into vast way. He produced some disciples who also attained the name and fame like their teacher, their guru Socrates. They are Plato and Aristotle. Plato and Aristotle are also great philosophers in Greek literature. Whenever we talk about the ancient literature in the world, first of all we take from Indian culture and civilization. Later, immediately we jump to the Greek culture and tradition. We people know Greek is an extraordinary warriors produced by the Greek land. We have to remember whom? The Alexander the Great, from Greek, heroic one, who wanted to conquer the world. Mostly he conquered every part of the world, but when he entered India, he was defeated by an ordinary subordinate king called Purushottama. However it may be, he also showed his philosophical thoughts by stretching his hand up while digging his dead body. He asked them to do like this. What he want to tell to the society, I couldn't take anything along with me after my death. I came with empty hands, going with empty hands. That is one of the philosophy of Greeks. However, today I am going to take the interesting topic about Greek poet Homer and his Iliad and a little bit about Odyssey. Because we should know not only our Indian tradition and Indian culture, because even Greek culture and tradition also one of the ancient one. In such a view, I am bringing forth to you the topic Greek poet Homer and Iliad. First of all, prayer. Saraswati namastubhyam varade kamarupini vidyarambam karishyami siddhir bhavatu me sada. The extent of the historical basis of the Homeric epics has been a topic of scholarly debate for centuries. While researchers of 18th century had largely rejected the story of Trojan War as a fable, the discoveries made by Heinrich at Hisarlik made by the question in modern terms and subsequent excavation of Troy 7a and the discovery of Topinian Vilusa in Italy, a correspondence has made it plausible that the Trojan War cycle was least remotely based on historical conflict of the 12th century BC. Even if the poems of Homer are removed from the event by more than 4 centuries of oral tradition. In antiquity, educated Greeks accepted the truth of human events depicted in the Iliad and Odyssey of Homer, even as a philosophical skepticism was undermining faith in divine intervention in human affairs. The title of the Strabo, Topographical discussions discuss the identity of sites mentioned by Homer, with such authorities accepting it. Post-Roman Europeans continue to accept Troy and the events of Trojan War as historical. However, even before the so-called age of enlightenment of the 18th century, the supposed facts of the medieval concept of history were doubted by Blaise Pascal. Homer wrote a romance, for nobody supposes that Troy and Agamemnon existed any more than the apples of the Hesperides. The discoveries made by Heinrich at Hisarlik revived the question during modern times, and recent discoveries have resulted in more discussion. According to archaeologists, finds thus far can neither prove nor disprove whether Hisarlik 7a was sacked by Mycenaean Greeks sometimes between 1325 and 1200 BC. The bilingual toponymy of Troy or Ilion as well as established in the Homeric traditions. The Greeks of the 13th century BC had colonized the Greek mainland and Crete and were beginning to make forays into Ahiava. He posits that in all probability the Iliad preserved through oral examines the memory of one or more acts of aggression perpetrated by the Ahiavans against Vilusva in the 13th century BC. Let us see the status of Iliad. The more that is known about Bronze Age history, the clearer it becomes that it is not a yes or no question, but one of the educated assessment of how much historical knowledge is present in Homer and whether it represents a retrospective memory of Dark Age Greece, as finally concludes which is the dominant view of companion to Homer. The particular narrative of the Iliad is not an account of the war, but a tale of the psychology, the wrath, vengeance, and the death of individual heroes, which assumes common knowledge of the Trojan War as a backstory. No scholars now assume that the individual events of the tale are historical fact. However, no scholars claim that the story is entirely devoid of memories of Mycenaean times. However, in addressing a separate controversy, Oxford professor of Greek Martin L. West indicated that such an approach misconceives the problem and that the Troy probably fell to a much smaller group of attackers in a much shorter time. Now let us see the Iliad as essentially legendary. Some archaeologists and historians, most notably until his death in 1986, they finally maintain that none of the events in Homer's works are historical. Others accept that there may be a foundation of historical events in the Homeric narrative, but say that in the absence of independent evidence, it is not possible to separate feat from myth. The world of Odysseus presents a picture of the society represented by the Iliad and the Odyssey. Avoids the question is beside the point that the narrative is a collection of fictions from beginning to end. Finlay was in a minority when his world of Odysseus first appeared in 1954. With understanding that war was the normal state of affairs, finally observed that a 10-year war was out of the question, indicating Nestor's recall of a cattle raid in Elis as a norm and identifying the scene in which one traditional piece of the story was retained after the war had ballooned in the 10 years and the piece had become rationally incongruous. Finlay, for whom the Trojan War is a timeless event floating in a timeless world, analyzes the question of historically aside from invented narrative details into 5 essential elements. What we have to know the 5 elements. Let us see what are the 5 elements in Homeric period. 1 is Troy was destroyed by a war. Number 2 is the destroyers were a coalition from mainland Greece. Third, the leader of the coalition was a king named Agamemnon. Fourth, Agamemnon's overlordship was recognized by the other chieftains. Fifth one, Troy too headed a coalition of allies. Finlay, one of the person, does not find any evidence for any of these elements. Aside from the narrative detail, Finlay pointed out that aside from some correlations of Homeric place names, and there is also at the fact that the heroes lived at home in palaces unknown in Homer's day, far from nostalgic recall of Mycenaean age. Finlay asserts that the catalogue of his errors is very long. Homer had heard of them, but he did not really visualize what one did with chariots in a war. So his heroes normally drove from their tents of mile or less away, carefully dismounted, and then proceeded to balloon on foot. Now we can see Iliad, Greek epic poem like our Indian Ramayana. The Iliad, ancient Greek, sometimes referred to as the Song of Iliad or Song of Ilium. Once again, Song of Ilion or Song of Ilium is an ancient Greek epic poem in dactylic hexameter traditionally attributed to Homer. Set during the Trojan War, the 10-year siege of the city of Troy by a coalition of Greek states, it tells the battles and events during the weeks of quarrel between King Agamemnon and the warriors Achilles. Although the story covers only a few weeks in the final year of the war, the Iliad mentions or alludes to many of the Greek legends about the seas. The earlier events, such as the gathering of warriors for the seas, the cause of the war, and related concern tend to appear near the beginning. Then the epic narrative takes up events prophesied for the future, such Achilles' imminent death and the fall of Troy, although the narrative ends before the events take place. However, as these events are prefigured and alluded to more and more vividly, when it reaches an end, the poem has told more or less complete tale of the Trojan War. The Iliad is paired with something of a sequel, the Odyssey, also attributed to Homer. Along with the Odyssey, the Iliad is among the oldest extant works of Western literature, and its written version is usually dated to around 8th century BC. In the modern Vulgate, the Iliad contains 15,693 lines. See how even the accurate lines also mentioned. It is written in Homeric Greek, a literary amalgam of Ionic Greek and other dialects. Let us see a bit of synopsis. After an invocation to the Muses, the story launches in medias towards the end of the Trojan War between the Trojans and the besieging Greeks. Chryses, a Trojan priest of Apollo, offers the Greeks wealth of the return of his daughter Chryses, held captive by Agamemnon, the Greek leader. Although the most of the Greek army is in favor of offer, Agamemnon refuses. Chryses prays for Apollo's help, and Apollo causes a plague to afflict the Greek army. After 9 days of plague, Achilles, the leader of the Myrmidon and contingent, calls an assembly to deal with the problem. Under pressure, Agamemnon agrees to return Chryses to her father, but decides to take Achilles captive, besides as a compensation. Achilles furiously declares that he and his men will no longer fight for Agamemnon and will go home. Odysseus takes a ship and returns Chryses to her father, whereupon Apollo ends the plague. In the meanwhile, Agamemnon's messengers take Briseis away. Achilles becomes very upset, sits by the seashore, and prays to his mother Thetis. Achilles asks his mother to ask the Jews to bring the Greeks to the breaking point by the Trojans. So Agamemnon will realize how much the Greeks need Achilles. Thetis does so, and Zeus agrees. Zeus sends a dream to Agamemnon, urging him to attack Troy. Agamemnon heeds the dream, but first decides to test the Greek army's morale by telling them to go home. The plan backfires, and only the intervention of Odysseus, inspired by Athena, stops a rout. Odysseus confronts the deeds of Thetis, a common soldier who voices discontent about fighting Agamemnon's war. After a meal, the Greeks deploy in companies upon the Trojan plain. The poet takes the opportunity to describe the provenance of each Greek contingent. Next, the armies approach each other, but before they meet, Paris offers to end the war by fighting with duel. Fighting a duel, I mean a combat. In Telugu we say Malla Yuddham, Dwanda Yuddham. With Menelaus, urged by his brother and head of the Trojan army, Hector. The initial cause of the entire war is alluded to here when Helen is said to be embroidering the struggles between Trojans and Greeks that Ares had made the fight for her sake. This allusion is then made definitive at the paragraph's close when Helen is told that Paris and Menelaus are going to fight about yourself and you are to be the wife of him who is a victor. Both decides swear a truce and promise to abide by the outcome of the duel. Paris is beaten, but Aphrodite rescues him and leads him to bed with Helen before Menelaus kill him. Pressured by Hera's hatred of Troy, Zeus arranges for the Trojan Pandoras to break the truce by wounding Menelaus with an arrow. Agamemnon rouses the Greeks and the battle is joined. Another way. In the fighting, Diomedes kills many Trojans, including Pandoras, and defeats Aeneas, whom Aphrodite rescues, but Diomedes attacks and wounds the goddess. Apollo faces Diomedes and warns him against warring with gods. Many heroes and commanders join in, including Hector, and the gods supporting each side to try to influence the battle. Emboldened by Athena, Diomedes wounds Ares and puts him to the action. Hector rallies the Trojans and prevents rout. Greek Diomedes and the Trojan Glaucus find common ground and exchange unequal gifts. Hector enters the city, urges prayers and sacrifices, incites Paris to battle, bids his wife Andromache and son Astyanax farewell on the city walls and rejoins the battle. Next, Hector dwells with Ajax, but nightfall interrupts the fight and both sides retire. The Greeks agree to burn their dead and build a wall to protect their ships and camp, while the Trojans quarrel about returning Helen and the offer is refused. A day's truce is agreed for burning the dead, during which the Greeks also build the wall and a trench. The Trojans are routed by the sudden onslaught, and Patroclus begins his assault by killing Zeus' son Sarpedon, a leading ally of the Trojans. Patroclus, ignoring Achilles' command, pursues and reaches the gates of Troy, where Apollo himself stops him. Patroclus is set upon by Apollo and Euphorbus and is finally killed by Hector. Hector takes Achilles' armor from the fallen Patroclus, but fighting develops around Patroclus' body. Achilles is made with grief when he hears of Patroclus' death and vows to take vengeance on Hector. His mother Thetis grieves too, knowing that Achilles is fated to die young if kills Hector. Achilles is urged to help retrieve Patroclus' body, but has no armor. Armor means kavacham, something. The Trojans are dismayed by his appearance, and the Greeks manage to bear Patroclus' body away. Polydamas urges Hector again to withdraw into the city. Again Hector refuses, and the Trojans camp on the plain at nightfall. Patroclus is mourned. Meanwhile, at Thetis' request, Hephaestus fashions a new set of armor for Achilles, including a magnificently wrought shield. Zeus lifts the ban on the gods' interference, and the gods free help both sides. Achilles, burning with rage and grief, slays many of the people in the Trojan. Driving the Trojans before him, Achilles cut off half of their number in the river Scamandrus and proceeded to slaughter them, filling the river with the dead. The river, angry at killing, confronts Achilles but is beaten back by Hephaestus' firestorm. The gods fight among themselves. The great gates of the city are opened to receive the fleeing Trojans, and Apollo leads Achilles away from the city by pretending to be a Trojan. The ghost of Patroclus comes to Achilles in a dream, urging him to carry out his burial rites and to arrange for their bones to be entombed together. The Greeks hold a day of funeral games, and Achilles gives out of the prizes. Dismayed by Achilles' continued abuse of Hector's body, Zeus decides that he must be returned to Priam. Led by Hermes, Priam takes a wagon out of Troy, across the plains, and into the Greek camp unnoticed. He clasps Achilles by the knees and begs for his son's body. Achilles is moved to tears, and two lament their losses in the war. After a meal, Priam carries Hector's body back into Troy. Hector is buried and the city mourns. Major characters we see there. The many characters of Iliad are catalogued. The latter half of Book 2, the catalogue of ships, list commanders and cohorts. Battle scene feature quickly slain minor characters. Let us see. Exeuns Greeks. The Exeuns mean Danans, Argives are Greeks. Agamemnon, king of Mycene, leader of the Greeks. Achilles, son of Pellins and divine Thetis, foremost warrior leader of the Myrmidons and King Pythia. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, Greek commander. Ajax the Greater, son of Telamon and king of Salamis. Menelaus, king of Sparta, husband of Helen and brother of Agamemnon. Diomedes, son of Tydeus, king of Argos. Ajax the Lesser, son of Oileus, commander of the Locrians. Patroclus, Achilles' closest companion. Nestor, king of Pylos and trusted advisor to Agamemnon. Achilles and Patroclus. Much debate has surrounded the nature of the relationship of Achilles and Patroclus as to whether it can be described as a homoerotic or not. Some classical and Hellenistic Athenian scholars perceived it is pederastic, while others perceived it as a Platonic warrior bond. Now see Trojans. Who are the Trojans men? Dardanus, first king of Troy, and he originally named the city of Dardania. Hector, prince of Troy, the son of King Priam and the foremost Trojan warrior. Aeneas, son of Anchises and Aphrodite. General scholarly opinion about this identification changed with the discovery of a text joined to Manapa Tarhunda letter, which located Vilusa beyond the Seha river near the Lesbo land. Modern scholars identify the Seha with the classical Caicus river, which is the modern Bakariki and Lesbo land in the more familiar Isles of Lesbos. The Iliad is a major piece of evidence for this theory of the bio-emerald mind, which posits that until about the time described in the Iliad, humans had a far different mentality from present-day humans. He points out that almost every action in the Iliad is directed, caused, or influenced by a god. Thus, Homer, god, familiar epic poet in Greek literature, like Valmiki in Sanskrit literature. Okay, I think you might have understood. We are adding one of another literature called Greek through Homer and his Iliads and Odyssey. Anyhow, thank you one and all. श्रीकांताय कल्याण निधे निधेदनाम श्री वेंकटनिवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मंगलम मंगलाशासनपरैर्मदाचार्य पुरोगमैः सर्वैष पूर्वैराचार्यै सत्कृतायास्तु मंगलम्.